4 games against the best defensive lines in the league, Rams, Seahawks, and Texans. This is obviously one that's about as good, if not better. How do those games prepare you to face this caliber of a defensive front?
Yeah, I mean, you got a little bit of experience playing some good rushes that also get matched with the back end and playing their coverage as well, as you know. So it all kind of ties in, but up front, it definitely helps being able to go against quality opponents and quality individuals for most of the season. In a lot of ways, up front, it's like every week we are doing the what it takes game records type deal, and it always starts up front, and that's pretty typical for most teams. So great challenge for our guys, but I feel like, you know, hey, we continue to rise to those challenges, and those guys up front take it personally.
Comment on Jacoby's contract extension signed this morning, and obviously you're not necessarily behind the scenes, but maybe you and your staff, conversations you have in the front office about the importance of keeping him around long term.
Yeah, I think just the obvious connection between he and Trevor early on, you could feel that there was chemistry there, and a guy that's prepared like a true pro since he's got here. And you know, anytime you can get guys like that where you have a continued chemistry and you feel like it gets better each week, and really happy for the guy.
Were you able to tell pretty early on, he goes out there and plays against Houston a good bit, just how valuable he'd be, just how quickly he was able to get things?
Yeah, the first week was pretty impressive with how he operated in the walkthrough settings and in practice, and actually didn't end up winning that game, you know, against Houston, but he was a part of that tough time and also made some plays in that game, and you could kind of tell that it was going to be a good fit, and it's continued to be, and really the most important thing is his teammates really like him. The offensive line loves him, and that's usually where you can kind of check the moral compass of the person.
Liam, what does it say about the organization to do it so quick? I mean, is there a message there as well to do it right now in December?
No, I don't. You know, just conversations started to be able to come between us and Jacoby in terms of wanting to make this thing, you know, a little bit more permanent. And so it was more so just, I think those conversations started pretty naturally, I guess you could say, on both sides, and we were able to get to a nice agreement. So it wasn't much of a message, honestly. It's more just, hey, you always want to continue to send a message, I guess, to that we always want to pay the person, not the player, in a lot of ways, right? And his teammates love him.
I was going to ask you, what kind of message do you think that sends to the locker room, just knowing that if you can come in, do your job, do well, you'll get rewarded?
Yeah, I mean, I think every guy understands that this is a production-based business, and you know, guys can see who does what, and I think the locker room typically knows their peers pretty well, and so it's one of those deals where it's, you know, you always want to try to earn what you get in this league as players, as coaches, as teams. I think those guys all understand that.
What makes Certan a uniquely productive player for Denver?
The combination of the traits, physical traits, along with his obvious pattern recognition, concept recognition, ability to catch up if he does get edged, and the length to finish is definitely something that stands out. And his competitiveness, I mean, he'll come up and crack a place on a tackle on duo, and you know, that's what definitely makes him a little bit more of that all-purpose, can-do-it-all type corner.
You guys are obviously, you guys have had a lot of penalties. Denver has had a lot of penalties. It hasn't really affected the win-loss record at all. But when you're in a matchup like that, do you talk about like the crew and things tendencies that they have? Is that communicated to the players, or do you kind of stay out of that?
No, yeah. It's part of situational masters every Friday. So, yeah, we have to be as educated as possible on as many elements without clouding their minds with things that you want them to just go play, right? But when you've got the two highest penalized teams in the NFL going against each other with a crew that may call a decent amount of specific calls, right, or wherever they rank, well, you got to address that and just bring it up. And look, we're trying to be as disciplined as humanly possible, right? Like, I want our guys playing on the edge. We've talked about that a lot. But playing in this type of game, obviously, with the crowd noise on the road, all that, it's maturity and discipline is going to win this football game in a lot of ways for us.
Even with Jordan and Eric, coming back healthy, Jari and Antonio have still been able to have roles and play. Why was that important, and what does that say about the defensive staff just finding areas for them to kind of...
That's development, right, and depth and competition, and guys making the most of some of their opportunities, and you want to continue to foster that growth. The more roles you can give and provide players, I think, to help them stay engaged, to use their talents on the field to help us win is great. As many times and many guys that you can have find roles for that they take pride in, that they want to study and know, so that on Sundays when their number's called, they want to go and execute at a high level. So credit to those guys on the defensive staff for being able to continue to find those spots for those guys, and the players for taking advantage of the situations.
The injury treatment on your shoulder after 10 post-game fist bumps?
No, I'm definitely a blackout oftentimes post-game, and so I can't really be held accountable for what I say and do. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, it's been fun actually. Shane showed a bunch of games this season and plays from the games of the season, and specifically at the end, just showing, hey man, it's fun and different. It's the NFL to win different ways. Some days, some games, it's on a tipped ball and a 2-point play. Other games, you're kneeing it out. Other games, you're having to make miraculous plays and just around the league, right? But just finding different ways to win is what's kind of been fun about this team.
Exhale for you in a way, though. You're locked in, obviously, and pretty intense.
Yeah.
Is that moment kind of an exhale for you?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. You're a lot of build-up, right? A ton of prep, emotions, communication. There's that border of being exhausted / adrenaline at different points, and so even as a coach, you want to let it loose a little bit after.
How has the interior of the offensive line responded this week to what's going to be a pretty tough matchup?
Yeah, I think those guys have had a good week in terms of understanding that we got good quality opponents inside that are matchups that we're going to have to win some one-on-ones. We're going to have to be able to create some movement when we do get double teams inside, and try to take advantage of those things with a good, healthy one-on-one matchup at times. So, they understand what's at stake is oftentimes we already know what the edges are dealing with, right, with some of the speed and the get-off that those guys have. But, the guys inside where they can help and be able to clean the pocket and continue to try to move the line of scrimmage that way, I mean, that's going to be one of those kind of games this game.
How would you evaluate the whole offensive line, knowing that you've got some depth there going up against who you're going up against this week?
Yeah, I mean, I've been proud of our group in terms of if you look at the totality of the season, being able to do some really good things in the run blocking and the pass protection. Right now, continued continuity and consistency is that next continued step that we have 3 more games to continue to work on. And look, not every game you're going to rush for 150 or throw for 330, right? That's that balance of what kind of game has it become, and how do you have to go win that game. And so I think our guys have, for the most part, done a nice job of, okay, it's become a little bit more of a pass game. Well, we don't allow sacks last week, whatever it is. This game we're going to have to be balanced, though.
How important is it to have a tight end like Brenton that does everything well when you're facing a defense that presents so many problems like the Broncos do? Yeah,
they definitely, like, with their ability to play in split safeties and then also getting a single high, and Hafunga being able to come and show down and blitz and just do a lot of different things. And so if you can have a tight end or multiple tight ends be able to create a matchup issue or help us in the run game, help us also in protections, whether it's in drop back or play action, and then utilize that person at the first, second level of the defense is definitely helpful against a team that mixes up whether they play man or match or vision zone. So something to definitely we appreciate about his game.
It seems like Gardex really giving you guys a big boost in terms of getting after the quarterback. What makes him such a savvy player?
Yeah, that's the word. He's savvy, he's slippery, but he's also violent. You know, I mean, he takes blocks on. He whoops blocks at times, and you know, he's relentless in his approach. The way that he kind of practices, the way that he plays, is definitely something we appreciate. And I think some of those different body type edge rushers can be a little bit of a pain for some bigger guys. You know, it's just a different type of player that's working edges on you, and you know, he's relentless.
Coen is kind of vocal, and you know, we've obviously seen him going after some players and stuff like that. Do you try and rein him in at all, or do you just let him go? No shot. Let him rip.
That's good. Thank you.
Thanks, Liam.
Appreciate it.